Uncharted 2 Among Thieves continues the story of Nathan Drake, but now introduces Harry Flynn and Chloe Fraser as they search for the Chintamani Stone. As with the previous case study, I would be looking at various parts of the story and exploring the possible truths behind them. The opening quote from Among Thieves is credited to Marco Polo and reads, "I did not tell half of what I saw, for I knew I would not be believed." Stated in the game, this was from his deathbed in 1324. The first part of this quote, "I did not tell half of what I saw," is real, believed to have been said by Polo when a priest asked if he would like to confess any false stories before he died. The second part of the quote may or may not be real. Only a few sources mention it, but I'd say it is more than likely genuine. During a cutscene with Harry Flynn and Chloe Fraser, Nathan Drake reads out a note written by Marco Polo alluding to his lost fleet. Drake goes on to mention that Polo left China with 14 ships filled with treasures from Kublai Khan and 600 passengers, but a year and a half later arrives in Persia with only one ship and 18 passengers. Marco Polo, his father Niccolo, and his uncle Matteo did spend many years in China, then called Cathay, in company with the Emperor Kublai Khan. Polo was even Khan's envoy, which meant that he was sent to places that previously no European had ever been. When the time came the Polos wanted to leave China, Khan initially objected and would not let them leave. Later, an ambassador from Persia came with the news that the king of Persia wished to marry the daughter of Khan, Princess Kokachin. Khan agrees to the marriage and also agrees that the Polos would accompany the princess on the journey. When they left China, although one source I found differed in opinion, most do confirm the 600 passengers and 14 ships filled with treasures and the 18-month journey. Along the way, it was documented that there were many stops and even dangers that they encountered. It is even documented that by the time they arrived in Persia, there was only one ship and 18 passengers remaining. It is not, however, documented what exactly happened to the missing fleet. In the game, Nathan finds a note that states Polo was hit by a tsunami off the west coast of Borneo. This note is fake, however, considering the routes that Polo took, sailing past Vietnam and Malaysia, it is a possible explanation as to what might have happened. The problem is, though, that all these accounts are by Marco Polo, and although most support the recordings, according to some historians, Polo's accounts may not have any credibility. They even go as far as to suggest that he never went to China at all and only went as far as Persia. These are based on inaccurate descriptions of Kublai Khan's 2 invasions of Japan, his inaccurate descriptions of Khan's fleet, and that various Chinese customs such as tea, chopsticks, and even the Great Wall of China are not mentioned by Polo. Also, Polo does not appear in any Chinese records from that time. This could mean that Uncharted 2's main story arc was fundamentally based on a lie. At time of writing, there is no way of knowing for sure what the truth is. Nathan Drake eventually discovers that the entrance to Shambhala is in Tibet, somewhere in the Himalayas. Assuming that Polo did in fact visit China and spent many years there, it is possible that this is where he also found Shambhala, perhaps even on one of his envoy missions. Of the various stories of Shambhala, most place it somewhere in the Himalayas, so if Shambhala does exist, then this would be a plausible place to find it. However, one of the myths concerning Shambhala states that although it is a physical place, it is not one that just anyone can travel to. Only those who have achieved the right karma can go there. The game does not mention if Nathan Drake has achieved this karma, but if we assume that he has, can we also assume that so did Chloe Fraser, Elena Fisher, Harry Flynn, Zoran Lazarevich, and his soldiers? If Shambhala does exist, it seems unlikely any of them, and especially not all of them, would have found it. In Uncharted 2, the Guardians of Shambhala are shown to be tall, fast, and inhumanly strong. As far-fetched as this comes across, it is actually an accurate description of the Guardians according to the legend. However, this is directly dependent on the legend being true. According to explorer Alexandra David Neil, while in the Himalayas, she claimed to have seen a man which she then said of, I could clearly see his perfectly calm, impassive face and wide open eyes with their gaze fixed on some invisible distant object situated somewhere high up in space. The man didn't run. He seemed to lift himself from the ground, proceeding by leaps. It looked as if he had been endowed with the elasticity of a ball, and rebounded each time his feet touched the ground. His steps had the regularity of a pendulum. This would then lend credence to the myth being true, if indeed what David Nail saw was a guardian. Uncharted 2 depicts a Chintamani Stone as not actually being a stone but a tree sap from the Tree of Life in Shambhala. It also goes on to explain that the guardians of Shambhala ate the tree sap, which is what gave them their superior speed and strength. There are various legends of the Chintamani Stone. Some say it is the same as the Philosopher's Stone and the Holy Grail, but they all agree that it is a stone that came from the stars. This means that if it does exist, the idea of it actually being tree sap becomes less plausible. The general story is that it is a stone that fell from the star Sirius. Originally people did not know what it was, but when discovering its great power, it was hidden in Shambhala, though fragments of the stone have found their way into parts of the world. This fits with Lazarevich's suggestion that some of history's most powerful rulers have held just fragments of the stone. Also, according to at least one researcher, the stone could have actually been a moldavite, which was formed from a meteoric impact. Perhaps part of this rock broke off upon entering the atmosphere, which could offer an explanation as to how fragments of it were found outside of Shambhala. Having said that, other legends state that it was brought to Earth by inhabitants of a planet orbiting Sirius and given to a figure known as the King of the World. As with all myths and legends, there are currently no way of proving or disproving its validity. But before writing it off as just mere stories of old, consider for a moment that according to legend, the primary goal of the Syrians was to create a unified world. Both Genghis Khan and Adolf Hitler were said to have possessed small fragments of the stone, and although their methods were highly questionable, this is ultimately what they were trying to do. Furthermore, it is believed that the League of Nations possessed a part of the stone, and although they failed, unifying the world is precisely why they were set up. Perhaps in order to unify the people of our world, a fragment of the Chintamani Stone is not enough, but the whole stone is needed.